Hello, Lovelace. Welcome to today's wider curriculum lesson. Now, this one is going to have a bit of an arty theme to it. Although we're still carrying on with our Vikings, you can see from our question for today, can I build a Viking longship and understand some of its features? So in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at the transport of the Vikings, the longship. Okay? Look at some of the features, some of the things that makes the design so special, but then also giving you the opportunity in your task to build one for yourself. Okay, so there's our challenge for today. Well, let's take a look at it first of all. Okay. So the Viking longship, as the name suggests, was long. It was also sleek and fast. For this period of time, this was a quick boat. You can see on this image the number of oars. So the number of warriors who would have been pulling on those oars, that's a lot of power. So this thin boat can move through the water really quickly. Okay, we're not talking power boats. We're not talking speed boats with engines. But for this period of time, it was a very quick mode of transport. Now, the reason it was thin was twofold. One, being narrow like this meant it could travel quite quickly, but it was also designed to travel up rivers. This allowed it to sneak up on villages and raid villages and then get away quite quickly. Big boats couldn't get up these narrow rivers, and villagers thought they were safe. If they built their villages up small rivers, they thought, oh, no one's going to be able to come up there and attack us. But these narrow boats were able to get up quite narrow rivers to villages for raiding, and then as quick as you like, turn around and be out in the open sea. Okay, so they were designed to travel quickly, but they were also designed to travel up narrow waterways. They were built in different sizes. The biggest ones could carry up to 120 warriors. That's a big boat. Okay? But they would vary in size, obviously, depending on the boat builder, depending on the village that they came from, and so on. So various things that decided how big they would be. But the biggest, up to 120 warriors. At the prow, so that's at the front of the boat, was a carving. Here's just a few examples. And they represented the spirit of the boat. Okay. Beautiful carvings. We can see a couple of dragon type creatures and then the eagle head on this one. Now, the idea behind this was to scare the spirits of the land as they were approaching. Okay, so their mythology had them believe that the spirit of the boat needed to be more aggressive, more angry, more ferocious than the spirits of the land. So as their boat approached the land, it would scare the spirits. Okay? And the spirits of the land would not be there to defend the people. Now, interestingly, these figureheads could actually be removed on many of the boats. You can see on the eagle one, there is a clear line here. And these would be removed if they were approaching friends. If they were approaching a village that they were not about to raid, that they were approaching in friendship, in peace, then often they would remove the figurehead because they didn't want to scare their land spirits. Okay, so interesting little customs there that the prow, the figurehead, could often be removed for when they're approaching friends. Okay. Now, obviously, Vikings went exploring. They went traveling great distances. We've mentioned this before. So they could be at sea for days, even weeks at a time. And in this case, obviously, if you're away for days, you need to sleep. Now, the boat didn't have a cabin. It wasn't set up with bunks or any sorts of comforts whatsoever. So how did the Vikings sleep? Well, interestingly enough, they would actually lower the sail. That big sail that's helped them move through the water would be lowered and they would fashion a type of tent. They would cover the bottom of the boat with the sail to create a tent, to create protection for the sleeping sailors, the sleeping warriors. And they would settle down in seal skin sleeping bags. Because obviously seals, they're able to stay warm in the coldest of waters. So seal skin would be a really good sleeping bag material for keeping the warriors warm and dry. And here's an example of a sealskin sleeping bag. Okay. Now, this isn't a Viking one. This is actually, say, a modern day one used by the Inuit people from the Arctic Circle, but it's the same material, fashioned in the same sort of shape. Obviously, a Viking sealskin sleeping bag wouldn't have survived in this condition over that many years. Okay, we know about soft fabrics not surviving very well. Okay, but there you go, a sealskin sleeping bag to keep you dry and warm when you're lying on the bottom of a damp deck in your longboat. Now, as I've just mentioned, from our work on archaeology, we know some materials don't survive being buried for hundreds of years. So archaeologists can't actually be sure what the boat's sails were made of. But they believe that it was a tightly woven woolen fabric. That's the expert's best guess. But as we've mentioned, soft fabrics don't survive particularly well. So there's not a lot of evidence as to what the sail of the boat was made of. We've managed to dig up the boats themselves, so we've got a very, very good idea as to the shape of the boat. But the sail, and we know there was a sail because masts have been dug up, and there would be no point putting a mast on a boat, having that big lump of wood sticking up in the air, if you didn't have a sail attached to it. So we know there was a sail. We simply aren't 100% sure what the material would be. But as I say, experts' best guess is a tightly woven wool fabric. Okay. Now, once on board, they would need to steer. They would need to know which direction they were traveling in. And Vikings were able to navigate using the sun and the stars. Okay. They knew where the sun rose and set during the day, so they could work out the direction they were traveling in. They also recognized the night sky and could identify important stars in the night sky to help them steer. But why use all of those things when you could just ask directions? And quite often and quite simply, that's what the Vikings would do. They would speak to someone who had already traveled to where they were intending to go and ask them for directions. Sounds simple. It is, and it worked. Okay, so yes, they could navigate with the sun and the stars, but more often than not, they simply asked someone who'd already traveled to that place, how do you get there? Okay. So they weren't daft. So anyway, moving on to your task for today. We now know a little bit about the boat, but I'd like to see if you can build me one. Now, I'm going to give you some instructions now, but I fully appreciate, I recognize that the resources you have available to you at home may be slightly different. So here are a set of instructions, but please feel free to adjust, change your design to match what you've got available. You might not have all of these things at hand. So be creative, use your imagination. By the end of the session, or by the end of your activity, I'd like you to have built me a Viking Longship. But if it doesn't look the same as this one, please don't worry. I know everyone is working with what they can find. But this is the sort of task where you can go dipping into your recycling box, maybe some of the cardboard, some of the boxes you've got lying around from Christmas or just afterwards or whatever. We've all got cardboard boxes just sitting around, shoe boxes, anything at all, and you can make a really good go of this. But I do understand that some of the things that might be suggested you might not have available. So don't worry, do the best you can. Do the best you can to create me a Viking Longship. Right. So from card, you need to cut out roughly these shapes. Now the measurements are suggestions. Once again, if you've not got a piece of card this big, or you simply want to go smaller or bigger, that's entirely up to you. So these are a guide. The first thing you need is this hexagon at the top. Now it's not a regular hexagon, but it is a hexagon because it's got 6 sides. And you can see that basically it's a large rectangle with 2 pointy ends. And the straight edges on mine are 37 centimeters long. And then the pointy side here, this side here, the short side that goes to the point, is 7 centimeters. So that's 7 centimeters, that's 7 centimeters, that's 37 centimeters, that's 7, and that's 7. This is a guide, remember. And then, so this is actually going to be the bottom of the boat. If you hadn't worked it out, this is the bottom of the boat. And then the 2 sides are strips of card, which you are going to fold. So the whole piece of card, if you're following my numbers, the whole piece of card is 51 centimeters long. And then you put a little dotted line or a mark because you're going to fold it 7 centimeters in. And the card is about 5 centimeters tall. It can be as high as you want the sides of your boat to be. My guide there is 5 centimeters. And then the second piece, exactly the same. 51 all the way along, 7 centimeters in, make a mark, 7 centimeters in from the other end, we make a mark, and that's where we're going to fold it. So any dotted lines are folds. Okay? At any point during this video, please do freeze it, do pause it, and take any notes you need to. So there's the basic parts to our boat, the bottom and the sides. Once you've got those, then you've got the basic shape. Yes, there's lots of other bits to add, but you've got the basic shape of your boat. Now, once you've got that, you need to fold on the dotted line, and that will just bend one of the sides around so it meets the point at the bottom of the boat. Now, we've used brightly colored tape here so you can see it. You can use sellotape, you could use masking tape, you can use whatever tape you have available. If you want to use brightly colored tape like this, that's absolutely fine. This is just, I've used bright colors so you can see where the tape is. But you can see this is one of the sides. It comes along here, and then this is where the fold is, where we've bent it round. And so it follows the shape of the bottom. And then the other side we can't quite see is obviously on the other side of the boat. Okay, so this will give you your basic shape. Now we move on to the prow, your figurehead. Now this is up to you. It's your design. You can go eagle, you can go dragon, you can go any creature you want to. You could go a lion's head, whatever spirit you want to give your boat. The only rule is that the height of this part of your prow, of your figurehead, should be the same as the height of your boat. So mine was 5 centimeters tall. So for me, this measurement here will be 5 centimeters. The reason for that is, as you can see, we stick it onto the front of the boat here. So you can see it needs to be the same height as the boat. And then it sort of tapers up and forms the head of your spirit. You need to do 2 of those exactly the same because they're going to stick together. One's on the other side of this, and they come together on the front of the boat and go up like that, okay? So there's the figurehead for your boat. At the moment, just the outline, just the shape. We'll decorate it later, don't worry, but you can see. The important measurement here is that this part of your prow is the same height as your boat, whatever measurement that is. Then you're going to create some little benches. It would be nice if our Vikings had somewhere to sit. But these serve a more important purpose. As well as looking right in that the warriors would sit on something, they're actually going to give strength to your boat as well. So you can see a very simple piece of card with just a little fold at the end, and then it's stuck in. Bit of tape underneath or a bit of glue, whatever you've got to hand. Okay, so your benches just need to be a little bit longer or a little bit wider than your boat is, just to allow you to fold them over at the ends and slot in. So as well as the visual effect of creating benches for your warriors, you've also given your boat a lot more strength. Now we move on to the sail. Now for the sail, if you've got different colored paper, then you could do what I've done here, which is just cut up strips and stick them on. If you haven't, you've just got plain paper, then you can decorate it yourself or leave it plain. You could just have a white sail, or you can decorate it with the symbols of your tribe. Maybe it could be the same creature as your figurehead. So if you've decided to do a dragon for your figurehead, maybe you could do a really impressive dragon design on your sail. It's entirely up to you. This is your ship. You're the boat builder. You decide what's going to go on your sail. Once you've created your sail, you need some sort of mast. Now, on this image, it's a wooden skewer, the type of thing you might put meat on and onto the barbecue. But you could use a straw or anything similar to that. It's a little bit thick, but even a pencil might work. Just something that you can thread your sail onto and then thread through the middle seat on your boat, and so it stands up like that. Okay, so through the middle seat and then stuck to the bottom of the boat so it stays upright. Okay. Again, if you've got a bit of glue would work, or you might just want to wrap it with tape down there, or maybe stick it into a little bit of blue tack or plasticine, anything just to keep it vertical and upright. Okay, so again, this is a point where you might have to be a little bit creative with the materials you've got available to you. And then I've said finally, but this is possibly going to be the longest part of the build. It's the finishing touches. Now, the Vikings would generally carry their shields on the outside of the boat. They would hang on the side of the boat as much as anything because they'd be in the way if they were inside. So they would use the straps that they would normally hold on to fix them to the side of the boat. So they were out of the way. It was a storage thing, really, but it also decorated the side of the boat, and it highlighted just how well prepared and how well armed they were. So you can make a selection of shields to stick to the side. Now here we've used split pins. So those are those little brass pins that you poke through and split open on the other side. If you don't have those available, not a problem. You simply stick your shield to the side or just draw it. If you're running low on card and paper, then just draw it on the side. So this is a simple 8-part shield, just different designs. But again, you can be as creative as you want to in the design of your shield. The oars, just small bits of card. Here I've used a little toothpick, but you could even use more card or any little thing, a cotton bud, any small pole that you can think of. And again, be creative with what's around the house to create the pole for your oar. Okay, the handle for your oar. That's the word. Okay, and finally, any other decoration you want to do. So decorating the figurehead, certainly. What does your creature look like? Your eagle, your lion, your dragon. Which direction did you go? Okay. And that's it. You've built yourself a Viking longship. Congratulations. Well done. I would really, really love to see some photographs of these. So please take some images, get them up on tapestry. Let me take a look. Because now you've built your boat, you guys can go Viking. Okay. Well done. Now, take care of yourselves. Take care of those people around you. And I will see you all very, very soon.